Sam, thanks so much for your time. First of all, pleasure talking to you today. And if there's a question you don't like, just turn your computer off. So
cool. I'll let you know. I'll let you know.
Okay. So before we dig into the show, I was wondering if you can tell me how you dealt with this quarantine situation, because I have like friends who say, I'm bored, I don't know what to do 24 hours a day. But for me, it's like different. I was like, yes, I am quarantined, but I still feel like the 24 hours a day is not enough to do whatever, to do all the stuff I want to do. So how has it been for you? Did you face boredom, or were you able to be creative?
You know, I've been very fortunate to have benefited from the time off, because this would have been the period between which we would have shot the seasons, right? So I planned all these different places to go visit, you know, events to go to, music festivals. You know, I had scheduled I packed my schedule so much that there was a certain amount of relief when I had to, you know, cancel them and go, now I get to actually sit and think about what I am prioritizing from a creative standpoint. And it's been good for me. I'm not going to lie, there's been moments of restlessness where I haven't felt particularly creative in the moment, but no, for the most part, I'm writing a lot of music right now, and doing a lot of writing in general. And I think that is definitely due to the fact that life slowed down so much for me. So I'm obviously would much rather the world not be the way it is, but yeah, I'm finding the silver lining, so to speak.
Right. And my friend just spoke to Adam Huber a few days ago, and he said that there might be conversation about including COVID in 1 or 2 episodes from Dynasty season 4. But he also said that some people think it's a good idea and some from the team think it's not a good idea. So I was wondering, how is it for you? Do you think it would work out in the show?
My argument for including COVID or something similar, I mean, Dynasty lives in the real world, so to speak. Like, we make references about real people, so it feels bizarre to me to carry on storytelling and ignoring such a huge significant event in world history, in human history. So that's my first thing, is that, like, well, that seems a little bizarre to me. However, my argument for including it would be that it would allow us as actors and the people who shoot the show to work in a much safer environment, because there will be less people allowed to be in scenes, and there will be, you know, people will have to wear masks, like, in scenes if they interact with each other. So it allows an integration of the safety procedures that I think would make everyone feel comfortable. So I see it not only as a benefit and such an interest, like, how is every character affected by this pandemic? Because everyone has reacted differently. Does Adam go even more mad, or does he suddenly become like some sort of heroic figure because he's able to be there for people, like Kirby? You know, that relationship would go. So there's I feel it's a very rich thing to draw on. However, I do understand that Dynasty is a certain level of escapism. So not trying to deal with a heavy subject, I do understand. I just think it would be an interesting road to take. Right.
And in general, when it comes down to Adam's future, for you, what are your own expectations on his future? How can the makers make sure that you keep your interest in playing Adam?
Well, I think, first of all, there is a sense of my character has now very much felt embedded in the story, where I don't feel like I'm having to make huge, sweeping character revelations in order to feel relevant to the story. I'm now very much part of the family, and part of the style of the show is that it's not procedural, but it's very formulaic in terms of people take on certain roles in a certain episode as part of the structure. So it's always interesting for me because I'm always either at the front of this storytelling or I'm supporting someone else's story. So that's how the show keeps interested anyway. But
Right.
Adam is one of the most delightfully mischievous and unpredictable characters that they know. I believe the writers know how passionate I am about pushing the limits, pushing the boundaries on what we can really explore. So when it comes to weird and when it comes to like bizarre, they're all over it. Like I trust them wholeheartedly. The other thing that I very much push for, though, however, is finding moments to humanize him, and so he doesn't seem like a caricature, so to speak. So, and they've been able to do that multiple times throughout the season. They've given him sincere moments because he is a rather sincere character in a weird way.
Yes, that's what I love about Adam. It's like when I saw the second season, I was like, okay, he's the bad guy. He does terrible things. And then in the third season, there's this change, and you start to love him. And for me, the one of the moments where I felt the change was like first when he sang in the musical episode, but also then in the episode where he tried to rescue Kirby with Fallon. And that was so nice to see them finally having their moment to get a little closer.
Yeah, sure.
That was just wonderful. So that's when I started to actually love and care more for Adam, because I didn't just see the bad guy in him that he was before.
Yeah, I think I very much think that the writers were smart in knowing that introducing a villainous character, if they just stay the villain, there's no longevity or interest in the longevity of their character arc. So we need to pass the baton, so to speak, in who is the villain. And Blake, is another villain in this. Like he's not a hero. So there are other characters, and then you have Alexis, and you had Alexis in season 1 and 2 as well, and how that villainous character impacted. You had to humanize her as well in order to want her to. You have to want her to win as well, and you have to want Adam to win in a way, because otherwise, it just becomes a bit of an archetype rather than a character.
Right. And do you believe he should receive forgiveness for what he did? Because he still changed his mother's face, what sons usually don't do. Hopefully not. What do you think?
Oh, like if this was a real life situation, no, not at all. This man's a psychopath. Like he has done atrocious things. He shouldn't be forgiven. However, as an actor, looking after my character, yes, I think Adam deserves to be forgiven. He's had his life ruined, and no one has really made it up to him yet. And honestly, all he's looking for is love and family. He's not after money. He's not after fortune or fame. He's not that way driven. He really just wants to be happy with his family. And to be fair, if it was anyone else, I think he would like kind of just settle down and like be in a good family dynamic. But the Carringtons are just like, there's no stability there. So.
Absolutely, yes. You know what I would love to see? I would love to see Steven coming back, because right now we are in the situation where more and more people are close to figure out what Adam did to Alexis. But there's also this story that is unsolved with Adam and Steven, of course. So would you like to see that explored in the future as well? Oh,
any opportunity for James McKay to come back and for me to get to work with him, I would welcome that with open arms. Yes, I feel that also a very smart decision they made was kind of leaving it on a cliffhanger with Steven, so that, because if Adam ever gets found out about that whole situation, he's done. Like there would be no coming back for Adam with the family if they found out what he did to Steven. There's just no way. Yeah. So the writers have kind of left this as like a loaded gun somewhere. but nobody's found the loaded gun yet. So they could absolutely bring Steven back at any point, and it would be such a dangerous, like if he comes back with amnesia or something like that, you know, and then it's this whole, but we've done amnesia. Anyway, yes, I think it'd be really interesting, and I welcome James coming back anytime.
Yes, that'd be great. That'd be fun. And there are also many fans that are hoping that Fallon and Liam are getting their baby in the show. So if that happens, what do you think? What kind of an uncle Adam will be?
I honestly think Adam would be the best uncle.
Right?
I truly believe. I think he would. I think being in any sort of parental or uncle role, where there's a sense of responsibility to a young, like, you know, there's an episode in season 3 where they're dealing with a young kid who gets, they're worried that it's fallen into the lake and is not going to be okay. And I come and take care of the child, and I realize in that moment that, oh yeah, Adam would totally be a loving person towards a small person. He would have no malice towards a child. So yeah, if he became an uncle, he'd be wonderful. He'd be so adoring. He might be a little bit overboard, but I think he'd be loving for sure.
And I mean, could you imagine having, Adam and Steven having a fight for Uncle of the Year?
Oh yeah, I mean, there's no way that I would lose. There's just no way.
Adam would win it.
100%. I'd find a way to win it. There would be some way to win it.
To come back to the musical episode, since music can also be a way of acting, I was wondering, you had already experience with music before, and now you were able to combine it in the show itself. So I was wondering, what's more challenging, showing emotions through dialogue and lines, or through music?
I think that very specifically doing musical performance in television is a very tricky thing to execute, because you've engaged the audience in such a certain specific style of storytelling that once you break into song, it kind of elevates it to another place. So what I think the writers did that was very smart was they kind of started doing like fantastical, weird things, bizarre things in the show that kind of led to that being an okay thing to happen. So in terms of the storytelling from, the singing standpoint, I felt it worked very well within Dynasty, because Dynasty already lives in I get to utilize my musical theater comedy skill set on Dynasty because of the tone and the style of the writing. So it almost lives in a musical world. So I think it works, very, very successfully. When it comes to my preference, or what I find more challenging, I think if it's a really good song and you can just rely on the incredible lyrics and the incredible melody or the orchestration, I think it is more rewarding for me to sing and tell a story than it is to use dialogue.
Okay.
But I think that's purely just because it's an elevated performance.
Right. And I saw an interview where Adam Huber was like, that he's kind of afraid that maybe it's going to be his turn in the next season to sing, because we haven't seen everyone singing yet, but a lot. So I was wondering, do you, from all the actors that did not sing yet in the show, do you believe someone has, like a hidden voice that should be heard in the next season?
Do you know what? I'm not sure about Adam Huber's singing voice.
Okay.
But I bet you he would be a mad rapper. I think.
Oh yeah.
I think Adam has a hidden talent for rap, and I think we should start a campaign to get his character to rap in season 4. I think there's a way in, and so when it comes to a hidden talent, yeah, I think Huber's got the hidden rap talent for sure.
That would be great, because usually we only see him in his suit in the show, so we could see him like with a cap and stuff.
Exactly.
Completely
Yeah.
different.
Yeah. Maybe he's going undercover for a book thing or something. I don't know. Like that'd be incredible.
What I also love about the show is that, of course, they the whole entire family, they try to achieve their goals, and of course they try to do everything, but they never give up. So they really want to achieve their goals. It's just there's no way to say, okay, you know what, let's pass on this situation, opportunity. So for you as an actor, how important was it to never give up in order to get there where you are today?
You mean in terms of Sam being an actor? You in
Yes,
terms of
yes,
that journey?
exactly.
Oh, I mean, look, I think being an actor and having the privilege to work in television, because that is a very privileged place to be as an actor. There are millions of actors that are working in theatre, that that do commercials, that do voiceover. Not everyone has the luxury of doing television. So in terms of like how I feel about that in relation to never giving up, I have come to TV so much later in my career than other people, that I still feel that I still have to pay my dues in waiting for a long time. So, before I did Dynasty, I was, out of work for a while, and I just, put my nose to the grindstone and did all the auditions that came my way. I think that time off is and was important for me in terms of my growth as an actor, as an artist, and as a professional. But yeah, like that is why it's rewarding to play characters that are constantly trying to get something, because I have to keep that fire going when I'm not in an acting job. So yeah, I can absolutely relate to that.
And what would you say is harder? Because sometimes we tell actors, yes, that there are so many actors who are trying to break in, and for a reason it doesn't work out for them. But there are already also actors who tell us that yes, breaking in is hard, but maintaining is even harder. How has it been for you?
I believe my break-in moments, and I think there were at least 2, if not 3 or 4 of them, where I would say that was a break-in moment or a breakout moment. They happened so by accident and by chance and by fortune. I couldn't have planned them. So there was a certain sense of responsibility that was taken off me for going, I made this thing happen. So it also makes me aware to be just constantly ready, because anything can happen at any moment. Dynasty was a job that came my way out of thin air. You just never know when those jobs are going to happen. So that's an example of that. But I mean, maintaining the kind of stamina to keep going is really difficult. Even if you get breakout moments, you don't know what. There's no perfect mathematical equation in order to break into the industry, and there certainly isn't a mathematical equation to sustain your career. It's all just chance, and I am a firm believer that it is a numbers game. You have to keep going until your numbers up, and then when you have the opportunity to represent your work, you have to be on top of it every time. There's no there's no second opportunity for a first impression. So yeah.
Right. And there's also one thing that I love about the show, because the original was back then had an all white cast, and this time it's very diverse. Mm-hmm. But what I love about it is that yes, we have, like Jeff Colby is very successful, and everyone can be successful, and that's great, because I don't know how you feel like, but there have been a few shows or movies in the past 1 or 2 years where that felt like that the political statement was first, and then a story was built around that. And I don't feel that in Dynasty. Dynasty is still character and story driven, but there are other projects that feel like a little bit more agenda driven, which kind of hurts the movie for me. So I was wondering, what's your opinion on it? Would you also say story and characters still first?
Well, I think this is a very intricate kind of question and to look at in terms of Dynasty, because first of all, I would not imagine that the political views of the characters within Dynasty would completely line up with the views of the people that were either watching Dynasty or make it the network, essentially. So I think there would be problematic issues in that anyway if it was agenda driven. Do you know how another show I will relate it to is, in a weird way, is Succession on HBO. Is a very, very, very rich family. You know, again, it's a story about wealth. It's a story about wealthy people, but that is telling a political story through these people. Dynasty is not trying to bring people in for a conversation about politics or about necessarily about race. However, that being said, what I think is well done in Dynasty is that almost by not paying attention to it, they're saying, no, everyone is equal. No one is being, and, you know, not just for people of color, but for LGBTQ characters as well. You know, the show is incredibly, and strong female characters. So the show is very successful in giving good representation. I think it would be difficult to start integrating the politics of what these characters believe in, because I don't necessarily believe they would line up as well as what the TV show delivers. Do you know what I mean by that?
Yes, yes.
Which sucks to say, you know, you can get into a real deep conversation about it. It was like, oh, they're not, you know, but no, they're, you know, they're very, very wealthy people. They live in a different bubble. They live in a different world. And I think that's what Dynasty is glamorizing and kind of satirizing as well, is that, like, these rich people that are a bunch of crooks. They're a bunch of crooks, really. Like, no one's completely clean. So you're rooting for villains. And that's like, that's part of the, you know, that's part of the comedy of the show. So no, I don't think it should be driven. What's that?
You love that side of it. You want them to, you want Blake Carrington to be Blake Carrington, and you want Fallon Carrington to be Fallon Carrington, and that's just who they are. Yeah, and you get to laugh at them as well, because they're ridiculous characters. They take themselves so seriously that they become ridiculous. Well, Sam, thank you so much for this conversation.